Let me know you hear. All of these lines are being crossed over the atmosphere. I need to know things are gonna look up, 'cause I feel us drowning in a sea spilled from a cup. There is no place safe and no safe place to put my head when you can feel the world shake from the words that I said.
Grew up in Portland, started at a young age of 5. Surprisingly, my mom decided to put me in drum lessons. I feel like normally little kids are the ones that ask their parents to get them drums, but my mom was a musician and wanted to be able to jam with me, and so I started at a young age and grew up playing in church and in rock bands and jazz, and started playing professional gigs in high school, playing around town in Portland. Went to college at a place called Whitman College, which is a small liberal arts school in Washington State. Wasn't a music major, I was an African American studies major, but continued to play music in all sorts of bands. And while I was in school, I studied abroad in Botswana in Southern Africa and ended up touring with a Afrobeat band there for a few months and got to tour around the region, and decided when I graduated from college that I wanted to be a professional musician. So it took going halfway around the world for me to finally come to that conclusion. So moved to Portland after college, started playing jazz gigs around town. Eventually that led to some touring gigs. Ended up touring with a guy named Tony Furtado, who's a great roots rock Americana guy, a blues artist named Curtis Salgado. And so really feel like I honed my chops and got to figure out what's appropriate in terms of when do you need to show off your chops, or really when do you just need to lay it down, which the answer is always pretty much lay it down all the time and you'll get some gigs. Eventually that led to me touring with Pat Monahan, who's the lead singer of Train. And so I ended up touring with Pat when he took a hiatus from playing in the band. This is around 2007. So I toured with him for about a year and a half. And that was the biggest tour I'd ever done. We were playing like House of Blues size venues, first time on a tour bus. It was a huge step up from kind of what I was used to. But I felt like I was ready for it as a player, but I learned a lot playing with Pat.
We don't need a reason for anything we feel. We don't need a reason. Picasso's at the wheel. Roll this top down, down this down, leave my back behind. We don't need a reason, 'cause I got you, you got me tonight. I got you, you got me tonight.
But ultimately, I decided to take a break from music around 2008, and I moved to New York and worked for a legal nonprofit there and decided to apply to law school. That's another reason I wasn't really a music major. I kind of thought I would be a lawyer, and it wasn't like my parents were putting any kind of external pressure on me to do it. A lot of times people ask me, "Oh, did your parents go, stop being a drummer, it's time to get a real job?" Quite the opposite, actually. They've always been really supportive of me as a musician. And even though I have other interests, they always kind of felt like music was ultimately what I was going to do. But after doing music and grinding it out for a few years, touring, I just decided to take some time away from it and apply to law school and just see how far I could take that. So I was lucky enough to get into a great law school, University of Pennsylvania, Penn in Philly, and graduated from there in 2012, and then ended up working at a large international law firm in New York City called Sherman & Sterling. And I did mergers and acquisitions, like corporate law. Not a lot of drummers do that type of stuff. But yeah, so it was just a completely separate interest, really intellectually rigorous, and we were doing high profile deals, deals that you read about in the Wall Street Journal, but definitely not anywhere on the radar of people who are, in drumming in the rock world or the pop world, So it was kind of a great experience to be able to take that as far as I could. But About a year and a half into doing that, I got a call from Pat Monahan, lead singer of Train. He asked me if I was sick of being a lawyer yet. And I think I responded, it depends, because I'm a lawyer, and so that's the type of things that we say. So I wanted to hear what the terms of the deal were first. No. So basically, you know, Train had played with a great drummer, Scott Underwood, for 20 years. And they decided, you know, Scott and the band decided to part ways, and so they were auditioning different guys, and Pat kind of, I guess, kept me in mind, and I was really lucky that I just had stayed in contact with those guys since I had played with them years ago. About a week after that text, they were in New York, and I auditioned and played a few songs, and after a couple songs, Pat said, "I've heard all I need to hear, the gig's yours if you want it," and put in my 2 weeks notice, and was you know, was really fortunate to kind of part ways on good terms with the firm. You know, they totally understood that it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and there really were no hard feelings. It wasn't like I was jaded or sick of being a lawyer. It's just that this is a pretty sweet opportunity to tour the world with a great band and with some guys that I was friends with and had already played with in the past. I stepped into a band that had 6 albums under its belt, so I had to learn all the parts that were on those records, and their signature kind of iconic parts. For some of the, you know, a song like "Drops of Jupiter," it won a Grammy. You know, people know the drum fills, they know the part. You know, so as a guy who has a jazz background, you know, when I had played singer-songwriter gigs in the past, you know, you can kind of just go, and as long as it's musical, you're good. But in this band, I had to play the parts, you know, as they were, play the fills. Pat, our singer, is a drummer, and so he's very particular about certain fills, you know, and so going into my audition for Train, I kept that in mind. Almost treated it like I was gonna be, you know, auditioning for a cover band, you know, like learn the parts, play it exactly how people want to hear it. Over time, though, you know, ultimately, it's still gonna sound like me, and I'm gonna, you know, Scott is an amazing drummer and came up with some really cool parts, but also just my style, my kind of musicality just comes out. I think any drummer, that you just can't help it, right? I was lucky enough early on when I joined the band, to record on our newest album, Bulletproof Picasso, which came out in September of 2014. It's the band's 7th album. You know, if you go to a Train concert, you know, you're going to hear a lot of the old hits, and I'm going to play those old parts, and you know, there's a certain sound there, but we're going to play a lot of our new songs too, and it's nice to be able to play my own parts on those. But I learned a lot studying those parts. I think Scott's a great drummer, and I think that you know, the Train drum sound is definitely kind of a signature sound. You know, I remember watching MTV or VH1, like watching Train videos and being like, oh, that's cool, that's a good drummer, that's a great sound, it's a big rock band, you know. So to be able to be on stage with those guys is pretty humbling.
Can you feel the love out there right now?
Yeah, I grew up playing Vic Firth. I think it's a lot of times when drummers are lucky enough to get, you know, to be able to represent a brand or get an endorsement, you know, sometimes they're not always playing the brand that they want, and in this case, this is what I've bought and played my entire life. You know, in high school I was a timpani player and had Vic Firth timpani mallets, you know, and from what I understand, that's the Vic Firth legacy, right, you know. And, you know, I played SD4 combos, and I played Jack DeJohnette's, and when I was a kid listening to Fusion, I played Dave Weckles and Steve Gadd's, and like, so and now I'm playing Extreme 5Bs, and it's great for what I'm doing, because, you know, it's thicker, but it has a little bit of extra length, and I don't have to work as hard to get a big rock sound. So I'm super stoked to be a part of the Vic Firth family, and it's a natural fit for me. It's what I was used to playing anyway. So to be able to be brought in and represent Vic and be a part of the family is just pretty awesome for me.